We're here.
We're here. Here we are.
And we are talking about dopamine today.
Dope?
Being a dope because of dopamine and being addicted to dope, aka dopamine.
I'm addicted to dope.
Yeah, we all are. Yeah, actually I am. Everybody is. We're wired that way. So that's a problem unless you know what to do about it.
Okay.
And we're going to learn what to do about it today.
Yay, I'm excited.
Yeah. So a lot of psychologists and scientists and researchers argue that dopamine is the most addictive chemical in the brain, and it is incredibly powerful in reinforcing new pathways because dopamine makes you feel really good. They used to think that dopamine was released in the largest amount after a reward has been experienced. So if you're playing at the blackjack table in the casino and you win, that's when they thought the biggest squirt of dopamine happens from your brain. But they have since discovered that yes, you do get a squirt, but you get a bigger squirt anticipating a reward. So before, when you all have all your cards out and you've got 20 or 21 and the dealer has a face card showing and you're thinking the chances of them turning over an ace to getting it to tying me is so slim. I think I'm really going to win. This is really exciting. That's dopamine making you feel that way. And then if the card flips over and it's another card other than the ace, you won. Now you get another squirt. But the squirt that you got thinking about winning was bigger than the one when you actually won. This is why when people win the lottery, they end up going back and buying more tickets. Because, yeah, it was really fun to win the jackpot, but what they're addicted to isn't the winning, it's the playing. And the same applies with food. So when you're eating things, especially high sugar things or starchy things with high glycemic index, then the anticipation of what that feels like in your brain is when you're getting the biggest dopamine squirt. And then when you eat it, you get another one, but it's a smaller dose. And so your brain is reinforced to think about it, and your brain is also reinforced to eat it. So it's being reinforced on both sides of the action, which makes it a really strong reinforcement and a quick way to develop a new bad habit. And that's why it's harder to break habits than it is to build them, because dopamine probably helped you build the new habit. So then breaking the habit, you want to try to do the same thing, is to use dopamine to break the habit, which we'll talk about a little later. You can remind me to talk about that. Yeah. But that's the basic physiology of it that a lot of people don't understand, but that's how it works. That's how the brain is wired.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think we've all experienced when you go on a diet, right? And I know you don't have as much experience with this anymore because you've tapped all your cravings away, which is awesome. But you've had that experience where you're like, I'm not going to eat cookies for like a month or whatever, however much long of a time period. And your significant other or your roommate or somebody brings home a box of cookies. And you go and you try that cookie. You're like, I'll just have one bite. Just one. And you're just like, the anticipation. Should I? Should I not? Should I? And then you taste it and you're like, oh my gosh, amazing. Okay, I'm going to go away. I'm going to go away. And you're walking around the house and you're thinking about the second bite and the anticipation of that cookie again. And then, you go back and you have the entire cookie and then you have another one. You have another one because you can't stop yourself. That's happened to me on many occasions. Have you ever heard of, I know not very carby, but crumble cookie? You've never heard of them? Oh my gosh.
So good.
If you've heard of crumble cookie, don't go buy one. But they're incredible. They're like the cookies, and they're huge. They're like half of my face cookie. They're so big, and they come out with new cookies all the time, and they're like this soft and like warm, and yeah.
And you're getting a dopamine hit right now.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about it. Yeah.
So when people are getting the dopamine hit thinking about it, they're strengthening that nerve pathway that they're addicted to.
Yeah.
Then when they eat it, they get another hit, and they're strengthening it again on the other side. It's the same nerve pathway.
Yeah.
Thinking about it as it is eating it.
Yeah.
The action and the thought are the same nerve pathway, so both strengthen it. So this is why when I used to experiment back in the day with different things of eating, particularly with a cheat day. A lot of people say, oh, you gotta have a cheat day. Gotta let yourself. And yeah, maybe, for phase one, but it's important to know how cheat day works if you're gonna do cheat day, and then how to do it properly, because I and most other people that do cheat days did it very wrong in that on the non-cheat days, on the other 6 days of the week, all I would think about was cheat day. And I think about what I was going to eat and how I'm being deprived on the other days. But, oh no, it's going to be really fun on cheat day. And I think about all those foods all day long of those other days. I'm thinking about those foods. So let's say if I didn't do a cheat day and just ate those foods normally, I'd think about it once or twice and eat it once, right? So there's 3 times the nerve pathways being traveled. Then if I go on my diet and then I go with a cheat day, now the 6 days a week that I'm not eating it, I'm thinking about it 30 times.
Yeah.
And so that nerve pathway is being strengthened even though I'm not eating it, because I'm
so
thinking about
wild.
it. Yeah, so then when cheat day rolls around, I go in on a binge and I eat way more than I would have all week if I was just eating the thing during the week. And then my addiction is strengthened, and then now I'm on the struggle bus more than I was before.
Because you have to go back. And now it's like this thing where it's like, oh, and that's where people slip off, right? Is because the willpower, the neural pathway that you've created is stronger than the willpower to keep going.
Exactly.
With the foods that you
because it's part of the unconscious brain. It's been relegated to the unconscious as a subroutine. And now the prefrontal cortex, the conscious part of the brain, isn't strong enough to overcome that huge subroutine that's a massive addiction.
You said subroutine. What is that? Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, it's like a computer program. You got your main program.
Routine?
Yeah, and then you got your tiny little subroutine that's part of the big routine. But it's just a program, just a running. It's a nerve pathway. That's all it is.
That's fair.
Same thing. To do cheat day right, if you're going to do cheat day, is during the non-cheat days, is to catch yourself thinking about your cheat day food and say, nope, I'm thinking about the foods I am going to be eating today and how to make those delicious and how to enjoy those. So then you are automatically canceling out the nerve pathway that you want to atrophy, that you want to go away and get weaker instead of strengthening it, because you're switching your thought out of it into the thought you should be having. So now you're doing 2 things when you do that. You're weakening your addictive pathway, because use it or lose it. Same with nerves as it is muscles. So if you're not using that pathway, it will go away. It's getting weaker. It's not having an electric impulse travel over it. If the pathway, but then on the other hand, the pathways you are using with electric impulses are getting stronger. So if I catch myself on a non-cheat day thinking about pizza for the cheat day, I go, oh wait, no. I stop it before I can get too much of a dopamine hit and take the impulse out of that pathway, put it into my broccoli pathway and think about the broccoli. And in the past, we thought of, I think we even used broccoli or cauliflower, where we're visualizing, the different things, and that's a whole nother podcast. But that is what you would do. That podcast technique is what you would do in this case to strengthen the cauliflower pathway and weaken the cookie pathway at the same time. 2 birds with 1 stone. So the first thing is to catch yourself, and that's the hardest part, actually.
Yeah.
Because it's usually subconscious. So you got to train yourself to notice.
Yeah, you got to be like aware and like into your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And like when you're thinking about something, you actually catch yourself. But that's just being intentional, like intentional thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Mm-hmm. And then thinking about the food that you should be eating on those days that you are eating on the non-cheat days, and making that a pleasurable thing. And another mistake on that subject that people make when they go on diets is they pick really healthy foods that they hate. They go, okay, I got to eat this way now. And given enough time with the right brain training techniques, you can make that work, but it's a lot of work to make it work. It's easier to pick healthy foods that you already like and just go with those.
Mm-hmm.
So then it's not so much work, and then you are enjoying it and you already like them, so you're already getting dopamine from those. So then it's easier to make the switch from the cookie, which is already dopamine established, to a food that, bacon, organic bacon, say. Because that's a huge dopamine hit for a lot of people. And then switch to that, so you're still getting a dopamine hit that your brain was anticipating and wanting and needing at that moment, but it's a food that isn't going to make you fatter and less healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess that's arguable if I'm using bacon as an example, but I like bacon.
I think most
it
people
has
do.
to be organic,
Yeah.
by the way.
Yeah.
Because non-organic bacon is poison, awful, and the poor pigs too. But yeah, that's a whole other subject. So, but at least you get the idea, kind of what I'm talking about. Trade a dopamine for dopamine, even if it's a weaker dopamine. Because a lot of people talk about dopamine, and the way we started this podcast, it might seem like dopamine is a bad thing, but it's not. Dopamine is how we learn, and dopamine is how we make new habits easily. And so if we're doing it easily in the wrong way, why not figure out a way to do it easily in the right way to make our own new habits more easily, instead of struggle bus making the new habits, which is what most people do. It's hard to make a new habit, is what most people say. I say it's not. I say it's easy, because you got to know how to do it. And dopamine is a great tool for that. We're never going to get rid of our need for dopamine and the way that we use it and squirt it out in our brain. So why not, since we're stuck with it, and it can be a good thing, then let's make it a good thing.
Let me ask you a question about dopamine. So what is the main difference between dopamine and serotonin? Because serotonin is like considered the happy hormone, and it seems like dopamine also makes you happy. So can you possibly explain what the difference is between those?
They're both happy hormones.
Okay.
A serotonin is more of a steady Eddie, happy steady Eddie hormone. Dopamine is a quick hit.
It's a spike.
Yeah, spike happiness hormone.
Okay.
Serotonin comes mostly from the gut, and some of it comes from the brain. Dopamine is mostly from the brain. It's a brain chemical.
Really interesting.
Yeah. So when people have their gut flora all messed up, namely from eating crappy foods and non-organic pigs, then they is that
I'm
what
pointing to myself.
Yeah. Then it's really hard to make serotonin in
Yeah.
your gut, because your gut flora and ratios are all messed up. But when you are eating properly, you're getting your exercise, you're drinking your water, all the healthy habits, then your gut flora ratio is good, and it's happy, and it's making serotonin.
So going back to the dopamine hit that you get from like a cookie, for example, someone like me, the risk to doing that is stronger because I have a lactose intolerance. Whereas someone might not have a lactose intolerance. I feel like most people do, not everybody. It depends on the kind of like milk that you're drinking. It just depends on the type, because there's so many different, types of milks or types of dairy out there, and there is good and bad, just like there is good and bad pigs, like you said. And having organic meat versus just regular meat, because it truly is poison if you're not eating organically. But for someone not like me, that don't have those intolerances, and you talked about how to flip it around, right? How to use dopamine for the better. Is that what you were talking about with bacon versus like the other thing? I think it was like a cookie versus bacon.
Yeah.
Like you're just changing, like finding something that you really enjoy. but how would you make yourself enjoy something that's healthy for you that you still like, you need in your diet, but you don't necessarily like as much? Is there a way to make a dopamine hit for that in order for you to eat better?
Yep. And that's basically just trying recipes.
Yeah.
Experimenting with your food. So if somebody wants to start eating broccoli, but they don't like broccoli,
you season it the right way.
Just get into the recipes. So one of the recipes actually is on the xgym site. If people go to xgym.com and then at the top of the page click on the word recipes, that takes them to our recipe site, which we had to create because it got too big for the xgym site. And there's a recipe on there called broiled broccoli. And people that don't like broccoli like broiled broccoli. It's how it's made. Makes a huge difference. So you just find a way to make it that makes it really good.
Yeah. We have so many awesome recipes on that, and it's Hard Bod Cafe, correct?
Yeah, that's our site.
Yeah, and so that is just incredible. Like, I found so many good recipes on there too, and I'm sure like as we go we'll add more to that. And it's just, there's so many resources out there that'll help you create healthier food, because the fact is I know that it can be more convenient to eat out, but you have no idea what they're cooking their food in. Like most restaurants are cooking their food in canola oil and non-organic food. And so finding ways to cook at home that are quick and easy too, because like there's so many recipe books out there, and the recipes on our website are actually quick and easy. They're not super elongated, because I think that that's where people can get kind of frustrated, is when things aren't quick and easy, because we live in a very fast generation. But yeah, I think that they're, like you said, trying out different recipes and flavors, because that can create a dopamine hit if you find a flavor that is right for you with a certain food. So that's really good advice.
And it's really hard to do it without making your own food.
Yeah, it's difficult.
So it's, if you go down to the beach in the summer and you find someone over 40 who's in amazing shape, which is going to be hard enough, right, to do in this country. But if you can find one person over 40 who's in amazing shape. Right. If it's possible, go up and ask them how much time they spend in their kitchen.
PJ, how much time do you spend in your kitchen?
Well, I'm the time hack guy, but I still spend per week, a couple hours.
Couple hours per week, right? Okay.
Yeah, and that's with time hacks.
All in one swoop, or do you spend, that's over the course of a week?
15 times 6 is 2 hours, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess I'll stick by my 2 hours, because I'm probably in the kitchen 15 minutes a day. But if somebody isn't willing to do that, then they don't deserve to lose weight.
It's a priority.
It's not a priority enough for them.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, mine is the same. I spend about 2 to 3 hours in the kitchen per week, and I eat at home a lot more, and I'll go through little spurts where and it's just a matter of being prepared.
Yeah.
And it's a matter of scheduling, because if you schedule your day ahead of time and you plan out, you will find time in order to make your food.
If it's important enough for you, And a lot of people say, oh no, I don't want to this and that, because they're not confident in the kitchen, because they're ordering their food all the time and they're eating out all the time, and they don't want to mess up. They don't want to be a failure.
I've done that. I went through that, and I'm just going to tell you right now, find quick and easy recipes that are 5 ingredients or less, that are yummy. And there's so many recipe books out there, and I felt the exact same way. I totally understand how people feel that way, because I was so worried about cooking my own food or going outside of my comfort zone with certain foods, because I was afraid I was going to mess up and waste money and waste time. And that's what a lot of people, well, I don't want to buy all these groceries and then not eat them because it tastes like crap. And it's just, like you said, it's a priority thing. And like, if you place that in your priority list, you will find different recipes that you like, and you'll find different recipes that you don't like. But it's a matter of trial and error, and it's the same thing with working out, And here, I think it's like a proven system to help you get healthier and fitter. But most people, when they're doing things on their own, it is a try and fail system. And that's why we have what we have today, is because you were willing to go out there and try and fail and do the research in order to help people save time and save money. So you have to have the same mentality for yourself. Right?
Yeah.
If you want to get healthy, you'll do it. And we're here to help too, you know, especially with our members.
Yeah, that's our company goal. And individually too. I mean, all of us just love helping people.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, watching people transform and change, and just the difference that I see in people when they're with us, and then when they decide to also make a lifestyle change with their food.
Like that contest we're doing right now?
Yes, the contest. Oh my gosh. It's just so fun to hear people like, oh, I'm tracking this, and how excited they are. I actually have certain members like text me. It's really cute. Like I enjoy it, and I like, well, it's just because it fulfills you, and you're going to love it too, because you'll get addicted to the progression, because everything's uncomfortable when you do it for the first time, but then it becomes a habit, and then it's not as uncomfortable anymore. And
that's the same with cooking. So people that don't know how, just get in there and try and just do it, because you got to start somewhere.
5 ingredients or less.
Yeah, and so what? If it takes you half an hour a day, that's nothing. I mean, if you go, Bev and I are addicted to the Little House on the Prairie series right now. So we're in season 5, and we're just like, oh my gosh, I wish our country was like that still. And back then, you were lucky to have a pump of water in your kitchen that goes to a well. Usually you had to run down to the creek and get some buckets and bring it up. So cooking over a wood stove with water from the creek is a big deal. But if they did it, and they did it healthy cooking back then, and they were probably investing 3 hours of their day.
Yeah.
They made it work, and they were super healthy and happy.
Yeah, and I'm not minimizing, you know, the fact that people think it is difficult, because I think in today's day and age there is so many options, and now more than ever there are so many things that are actually unhealthy on the shelves than healthy, because back then we didn't have as many preservatives as we have today.
Yeah.
But that's just a matter of also eating organic. Like if you eat organic, typically you're going to find, and if you eat mostly things on the outsides of the aisles, because the aisles are where all the processed stuff is, and start becoming a label person. Look at the labels. If the list of how long the ingredients is longer than your finger, yeah, probably shouldn't eat it. So that's something that's really important too. But it is very, I know it's intimidating, but people can do it.
The best foods have an ingredient list of 1 ingredient. And it's amazing how many people don't realize, if you stick to the outside of the build of the store, you know, the inside wall, of course, you know.
Yeah.
You stick to the outside of the store and you won't ever buy any food at all.
Eat the grass.
Dandelion's actually really healthy. The dandelion greens.
Sure that's what people want to eat.
So you could go outside the store and pull up some dandelion greens, take those home, and save a bunch of money.
Full sea salt.
Yeah.
No. I'm kidding.
But yeah, once you go into the center of the store, into those shelves, and that's where you find the processed food that isn't actually food. It's technically a food-like substance made with chemicals. And all the food through the extrusion and processing is the nutrients are gone, and they had to.
They're so gone.
Then you have to add back in synthetic vitamins and things, and it's just poison. I mean, humans have no business eating that stuff. So of course we have lots of cancer and disease and chronic diabetes too. And messed up microbiome. You bet. Yeah. Of course we have that, and that's why. And we're sedentary. We have all these buttons.
People can do this though. That's the thing, is people can do this, and it sounds like it's really intimidating and it's really hard and there's so much to focus on, but don't worry about that. Just worry about going into your kitchen, trying new things, making things flavorful for yourself, and rewiring your brain so that you can get closer to your fitness goals, but also just feel better and have a healthier mind. Because when you take care of your gut, it's actually technically your first brain, right? When you take care of your gut, the rest is going to follow, and your mental health will also improve. So like eating healthier and creating different neural pathways for dopamine hits, in that sense, is going to benefit you in so many different ways.
Yeah, they do call the gut the second brain, but for a lot of people it's their first brain.
The gut, really? I thought it was the first brain. That's where I was
No,
reading something.
The brain is the first brain, but your gut has brain neurons. Well, and getting back to dopamine,
Yeah.
Cooking can become a dopamine experience
It
because so for Bev,
Mm-hmm.
the cooking is dopamine because when we first got together, I was the cook. I already knew how to cook. I cooked. She couldn't cook jack. And so she let me do all the cooking, and then but she got an interest in it, and so she started dabbling, and then when she would have success, dopamine.
So fun.
See, dopamine starts with the event. After the event, that's when the dopamine pathway starts. Then you can anticipate more of that. So then it starts before the event. So then she's like, oh, I made this really cool thing. Made her really excited. Now that dopamine started the cycle. And it started creating that new pathway, the kitchen pathway. So then she is thinking, oh, what else can I make that might be yummy?
This is exactly what I've been experiencing because I kind of stepped outside my comfort zone. And my dopamine hit is when I make it and I try it. And I'm like, oh my God, that's really good. My second dopamine hit is watching my fiance take a bite. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And I like watch him. I'm like, you know, my hands are on my face. And I'm like sitting there like just watching and waiting for his response. And so making food for other people can actually become really addicting as
Totally.
well.
And Bev she spends tons of time in the kitchen now. Not because she has to, but because she wants to. Because she's feeding her dopamine addiction, which is great. What a wonderful thing to be addicted to. And I'm the 15-minute a day guy with no desire to expand that. And she's like the 30, 40-minute a day gal with desire to, there's no limit because she just loves it. So just hope for people out there that might be listening who are intimidated by the kitchen or they hate time in the kitchen. That can change with success in the kitchen. And it's also a creative process. Human beings are creative beings.
Yeah.
More of us, more some than others, but all of us are wired that way. And so when you have success where you're creating something in the kitchen with your own hands, that also gives you a dopamine hit. Maybe not at first, but once the habit is established and you're not intimidated so much anymore, then it snowballs. And then pretty soon you turn into this cooking monster like Bev, who's way better cook than I am now. She passed me up long ago because of her dopamine addiction.
Yeah. I think that if people are willing to step outside their comfort zone and actually try it, they'll actually find that they do like it, or they could become like you where they find time hacks and that can make them have a dopamine hit where they're like, okay, I did this in this amount of time. That makes me really excited. It makes me feel important and like I did something for myself. So those are two different ways that people can do it. But you can do it. Anyone can do it.
That's right.
Really important.
Just using dopamine. And that's one way to hack using dopamine to form new habits.
New pathways.
And and get rid of old pathways and habits. That's all I have to say about that.
We're done.
Sweet. Boom. Goes
Mic drop.
Where's your dynamite?
Was that good enough?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's all I have to say about that.